Southern Pacific Arcade Station, Los Angeles. In the heart of old Los Angeles, before the glitz of Hollywood, a station stood where the city itself seemed to take its first breath. A place where trains brought not just goods and travelers, but the very promise of a new era. The Southern Pacific Arcade Station opened in 1888, situated on Alameda Street in downtown Los Angeles. Long before the city became the epicenter of the film industry, this station connected Los Angeles to the broader West, welcoming pioneers, businessmen, and early settlers. Its grand archways and high ceilings made it a civic landmark, a gateway to ambition and possibility. Although the film industry had not yet fully blossomed, the arcade station played an indirect but critical role in Hollywood's rise. Studios like Biograph and Vitagraph, arriving in the early 1910s, relied on these rail lines to transport film stock, sets, and costumes. Many of the first traveling motion picture exhibitors also disembarked here, bringing films to small towns across Southern California. Even actors on early stage tours sometimes passed through the station, glimpsing the city that would later become synonymous with stardom. By 1914, Southern Pacific moved operations to a larger, more modern facility, and the arcade station was demolished. Its role as a transportation hub faded, leaving only photographs and memory. Yet for a brief moment, it was a crossroads for the ambitions that would eventually define Hollywood. A local newspaper in 1892 reported, "The arcade station is a marvel of brick and iron, where each arriving train carries the hopes of a growing city." Santa Fe La Grande Station, Los Angeles. Amid the rising skyline of early 20th century Los Angeles, one station became the pulse of ambition, a place where the hum of arriving trains echoed with the footsteps of actors, filmmakers, and dreamers. Santa Fe's La Grande Station opened in 1905, strategically located near the intersection of 8th Street and Santa Fe Avenue. Built to handle both passenger and freight traffic, it was a monumental brick structure, its platforms stretching for hundreds of feet, a hub for commerce and culture. For Los Angeles, it represented modernity, a connection to the nation's vast railway network, and the promise of growth at a city on the cusp of cinematic revolution. By the 19-teens, as Hollywood began its ascent, La Grande Station played a pivotal role in the logistics of the early film industry. Studios like Universal, Paramount, and Goldwyn depended on rail lines for transporting film reels, costumes, and heavy set pieces. Traveling actors frequently arrived at La Grande, stepping off trains into a city slowly discovering its identity as the future film capital. Some early location shoots even relied on rail spurs near the station to bring in large props or camera equipment, a quiet but essential link in Hollywood's chain. Despite its early importance, La Grande Station's prominence waned in the late 1930s. The rise of Union Station, completed in 1939, consolidated passenger traffic and modernized operations. La Grande was demolished soon after, its tracks repurposed or removed, leaving only its memory in archival photographs and city records. A Los Angeles Times article from 1917 noted, "Trains arrive daily, bringing performers and film stock, each journey a thread in the tapestry of our city's growing fame." Southern Pacific Central Station, Los Angeles. At the heart of Los Angeles, a grand station rose as the city's new pulse, a place where the steam of locomotives met the dreams of performers arriving to chase fame under the California sun. Southern Pacific Central Station opened in 1913, replacing earlier facilities to accommodate a rapidly growing population and the booming entertainment industry. Located near 5th and Central, it was an imposing structure with high arched windows and intricate ironwork, a symbol of the city's progress. The station was built for both passenger comfort and freight efficiency, reflecting Los Angeles's ambitions to become a national hub. As Hollywood began solidifying its reputation in the 19-teens and 20s, Central Station became a key arrival point for actors, directors, and technicians traveling from the East Coast. Studios like Warner Brothers, Fox and MGM often coordinated shipments of sets, costumes, and film reels through its platforms. The station also facilitated location shoots outside the studio lots. In many cases, large scenic backdrops or lighting equipment were unloaded directly from rail cars, enabling early filmmakers to stage epic scenes without delay. By the 1950s, the rise of automobiles and air travel reduced reliance on downtown rail hubs. Southern Pacific Central Station struggled to maintain relevance, and in 1956, it was closed and eventually demolished. Its tracks were rerouted, and much of the infrastructure was lost to urban redevelopment. A studio executive in 1928 remarked in the Los Angeles Examiner, "Without Central Station, our shoots would be impossible. The trains bring everything we need to build Hollywood's illusions." Southern Pacific River Station Yard. Along the banks of the Los Angeles River, a sprawling yard once thrummed with locomotives, freight cars, and the ceaseless rhythm of a city in transformation. A quiet witness to Hollywood's earliest ambitions. The Southern Pacific River Station Yard, established in the late 19th century near today's Chinatown, served as a critical freight and passenger hub. Its location along the Los Angeles River allowed trains to easily connect with warehouses, factories, and eventually film studios. The yard was a sprawling industrial landscape lined with tracks, cranes, and storage facilities, the kind of place where industry and imagination intersected. As the film industry expanded in the 19-teens and 20s, studios used the River Station Yard to move essential production materials. MGM, Warner Brothers, and smaller studios relied on it to transport lumber for sets, bulk props, costumes, and even entire stage rigs. Traveling performers sometimes arrived in nearby stations and were shuttled by streetcars to studio lots. The yard's proximity to the river and downtown Los Angeles made it a vital artery in Hollywood's growing logistical network, quietly ensuring that the magic on-screen could take shape without disruption. With the rise of trucking in the mid-20th century, rail freight in Los Angeles declined. The yard saw reduced activity and gradual abandonment. By 1967, Southern Pacific officially ceased operations there. Today, only traces of tracks and overgrown concrete hint at its industrious past. A 1932 trade magazine noted, "The River Station Yard, though unremarkable to the casual eye, supplies the very bones of motion pictures in Los Angeles." Glendale Southern Pacific Depot and Yard. Nestled between the hills and the city streets, Glendale's rail yard once pulsed with the comings and goings of stars, crews, and freight, a quiet partner in Hollywood's rise to fame. The Glendale Southern Pacific Depot and Yard opened in 1923, serving as a key freight and passenger hub for the San Fernando Valley. Its strategic location allowed trains to bypass downtown congestion while connecting directly to both Los Angeles and Northern California. The depot itself featured classic early 20th century architecture, red brick, large windows, and a covered platform bustling with activity. During Hollywood's golden age, Glendale Yard became an essential logistics hub. Studios like Warner Brothers and Universal used the tracks to transport film reels, costumes, and large set pieces. Occasionally, actors traveling from the Midwest or East Coast would disembark here, only to be shuttled to studio lots in Burbank or Hollywood. For location shoots in the nearby hills or valley, the yard provided a staging point for equipment and props. Glendale's rail infrastructure, though not glamorous, was indispensable to the smooth operation of the growing motion picture industry. By the late 20th century, trucking had largely replaced rail freight in the area. The yard continued limited operations until 1999, after which it was decommissioned. Today, remnants of tracks and old depot foundations are all that remain, quietly marking a chapter of Hollywood's industrial backbone. A 1935 Los Angeles Herald report stated, "From Glendale, the city's motion picture lifeblood flows, carried on rails through hills and valleys." The yard may have been utilitarian, but it was central to the film industry's logistics. Burbank Southern Pacific Yard and Depot. In Burbank, just beyond the hills that cradled Hollywood, a yard stretched across the landscape, a place where the rhythm of locomotives carried the very props, costumes, and sets that built cinematic legends. The Burbank Southern Pacific Yard and Depot opened in 1927, strategically located near what would become the epicenter of studio activity. Its proximity to the Warner Brothers, Disney, and Universal lots made it an essential logistics hub. The depot's architecture combined functionality with the simple elegance of early 20th century railroad design, featuring long platforms and covered freight areas. Throughout the 1930s and 40s, the Burbank Yard played a vital role in the production pipeline. Large studio sets, film reels, lighting equipment, and even vehicles used in shooting were shipped through the yard. Actors traveling from New York or Chicago would occasionally arrive at Burbank, especially for location shoots in the valley. Beyond logistics, the yard also witnessed early promotional events. Newsreels and public exhibitions sometimes staged trains arriving with famous stars or props to generate excitement for new films. By the late 20th century, as trucking and air freight became dominant, the Burbank Yard's operations slowly diminished. It remained in limited use until the early 2000s before being officially closed. While the structures still stand in part, overgrown tracks and repurposed land serve as a reminder of its former importance. A 1943 Warner Brothers production memo described, "Coordinate all heavy equipment through Burbank Yard, Cahuenga Pass, Spur, Hollywood Freight Lines." Winding through the hills of Hollywood, a hidden rail spur once carried the weight of production dreams, oversized sets, props, and the raw materials that would transform scripts into silver screen magic. The Cahuenga Pass Spur was part of a network of freight lines established in the early 20th century, threading through the Hollywood Hills to connect studios with major Southern Pacific and Santa Fe lines. Though less visible than downtown depots, this spur was critical for moving heavy equipment and scenery directly to studio lots, particularly for productions in the rapidly expanding northern Hollywood area. As film production intensified in the 19s and 20s, studios like Paramount, MGM, and Warner Brothers Studios relied on the Cahuenga Pass Spur to transport sets and vehicles to hilly locations for shooting. Location crews could offload large pieces of scenery directly from rail cars, avoiding congested streets below. The spur also served as a vital supply line for lumber, paint, and other materials essential for building backlots. For Hollywood, this hidden artery enabled the scale and ambition that would define Golden Age productions. By the mid-20th century, trucks replaced most rail transport in Hollywood. The spur saw less activity and eventually fell into disuse. Over time, vegetation and urban development reclaimed the tracks, leaving only faint traces of what had once been a bustling industrial route. A 1930 Los Angeles trade journal noted, "The Cahuenga Spur, though rarely seen by the public, ensures the seamless arrival of every backdrop, every prop, the invisible hand behind Hollywood's illusions."